hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Let's Get Plugged podcast. I'm LaShawn Davis. I'm your host. I'm also the founder and CEO of the HR Plug, and we are excited tonight to just let you take a sneak peek into what it's like to work in the HR industry and share some confessions from HR professionals. And I am truly excited about this episode because number one, when I first came on, social media, everybody would be like, HR is for management, HR is not for employees, HR is not this and that. And I used to just roll my eyes and be like, whatever, you just have the wrong HR partner. But I'm excited today to really, dig deep into that conversation and talk to our guest tonight, who is Julie Turney, who is an amazing, amazing HR professional with a heart of gold and a heart for HR. And so in a minute, we will be bringing her out. But first, I just want to welcome you all to the show. Thank you all for taking time out to listen to this podcast, whether you are listening to us audibly on your favorite podcast streaming mechanism, or if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever you are, welcome. If you're watching us live, go ahead and leave a comment. Let us know you're here. Say hello. Let us know where you're from. I know that we have Elizabeth who's with us, and she's from Georgia. So welcome, Elizabeth, to the show. And we have Kevin who's from Phoenix, Arizona. Kevin, we welcome you to this show. And we're just excited about the conversation that we're going to have today. So if you have any questions or comments or things that you want us to address or answer for you, feel free to drop them in the comments. And so how we do. Sometimes we have some announcements and things that we like to share. And the biggest announcement to mention is the Unplug conference. So you guys just saw the trailer for it. It's still happening. We are 2 weeks away and we are truly excited. Hi, Ebony. Welcome to the show. We're so glad that you're here. And Unplug is going to be right here in Atlanta, 2 days in person, 1 day hybrid, March the 30th through April the 1st. And we have a phenomenal lineup of speakers that are going to just come in and pour back into the HR community. This is so aligned with our conversation today about the HR profession and how there's so many misconceptions out there about who we are and what we do. But the Unplugged conference is about how burnt out, tired, overworked, overwhelmed, exhausted HR professionals are, because they are dealing with what we've been going through, which seems like forever, with this pandemic, the Great Resignation, social injustices, all the things that fall on the shoulders of HR to help with the business, help with the employees, help with the leaders. But who's helping them? Who is taking care of the people who are taking care of the people? Who's taking care of HR? And that's what this conference is about. It's because we are often a neglected part of the business, but we play such an integral part of the business. And this conference is a reminder of that. So if you want to know more about this, be sure to go to www.unplugconference.com and look at all the exciting things that are in store that are on the lineup for you with this conference. It is definitely going to be a premier event because I am a firm believer in doing what we can do to take care of the people who do so much to take care of everybody else. So if you are an HR professional, you need to get here. If you are a leader in an organization, whether it's your own solo organization, an entrepreneur, you lead others, or you manage work with HR professionals, you need to get here or in some way support this event and let HR professionals know that you empathize with what they've been going through and you're a supportive ally in this space. So Unplugged Conference, March 30th through April 1st in Atlanta, Georgia. More information is available at www.unplugconference.com. Also want to share with you, if you're unable to make the conference, there is going to be an Unwind and Unplug networking mixer. This is going to be the evening of March the 30th, and it's going to be in Atlanta as well. And it's an opportunity for you to meet all of the speakers, all of the other HR professionals who are going to be here and network, because it's hard to build without a community. So build your networking community here at this event. It is powered by the Black in HR, which is an organization that is committed to helping organizations diversify with HR representation. And they also offer services to help skill up HR professionals through consulting, through interview prep, through training, through job selections. They post jobs. They do a lot for Black HR professionals in the community, and I am excited that they are the sponsors for this event. So they are putting this event on for us because they truly believe in the power of networking. And so if you can't make the conference, you're going to be in Atlanta, consider coming to the Network Mixer, and you can find out more information about that as well on the website, www.unpluggedconference.com. Also want to share with you about a podcast called Toxic Leadership, Tales of Transformation. This is with Dr. Kevin Sansbury II, and he has a podcast that talks about toxic leaders, how to deal with them, if you are a leader, how to determine if you're a toxic leader. And sometimes he even shares stories from toxic leaders themselves who understood later that they were one unintentionally. So if you really want to understand how to improve your workplace, if you're a leader, or how to recognize or deal with working in a toxic work environment, this is definitely a podcast that you want to tune into. And Dr. Sansbury is one of the sponsors for Unplug, actually, and helping us get the word out and getting the message about the importance of working in a workplace and a work culture that is healthy for your environment and for your well-being and for your mental. So it's important that you look at all the resources and the tools that are available to help you skill up in this area. And that's something that Dr. Sansbury does. So tune into the Toxic Leadership Podcast, Tales of Transformation, and how people have overcome working in toxic environments or have overcome being a leader who once led a toxic workplace environment as well. And also want to share with you guys that we are also on Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, Anchor, Audible, anywhere that you listen to your podcast, you can find us there. So just make sure that if you're unable to catch us live, stream on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, make sure that you can listen to us on your drive to the grocery store, on your drive to work, when you're working out at the gym or going for a walk. Plug into us because we always talk about something exciting and new and revitalizing for yourself and the workplace. Okay. So lastly, I want to invite you guys to go check out my website, www.thehrplug.com. If you have any questions or you're trying to navigate through a workplace issue or situation, you can book a free consultation here and let's talk about it with my member of my team or myself, and let us help you figure out how to strategize through your workplace issue, because that's what we're here for. We're here as a resource for you all so that you have some place to go in the event that you're not getting what you need from your internal HR department, or you just don't even know where to begin or how to even have the conversation with your HR department or with your leader. Because you'll find today we're going to talk about not all HR professionals are created equally, and not all of them are necessarily people that are decent to deal with, and you may need that additional support in knowing how to even deal with your internal HR. So whatever that might be, we are here as a resource to help you. So visit our website, www.thehrplug.com, and you can schedule your free consultation there. I'm spouting so many websites. I'm jumbling them up. So apologies about that. It's www.thehrplug.com. So without further ado, I'm excited to share with you all a little bit of information about our guest, and then I will bring her out so that she can talk to you herself about who she is and why she does what she does. But what really drew me to Julie, I accidentally met her on Twitter somehow. I don't even know how, but I did. And I connected with her on Twitter without even really knowing who she was, but I was just fascinated by the questions she was asking, and it was all geared toward the HR community. And I remember thinking, wow, nobody really cares about us to ask us a question, but that's what she was doing. So we connected on Twitter, and then I discovered her on LinkedIn, where she is a radical, phenomenal voice in the HR world that really reminds us to take care of ourselves and reminds other people to take care of your HR professionals. And so what other person what I have on this show when that's what we've been talking about with the Unplugged conference, with everything that's been happening right now is the importance of this HR industry and how we need to take care of ourselves. And so Julie is a beacon of hope and a light in this space. And I'm excited that she took time out of her day or evening all the way from the Barbados is where she is, and excited that she's here with us today. So I am going to bring her out, and we have Julie. Julie, welcome to Let's Get Plugged podcast. How are you today? Oh wait, you might be on mute, Julie. Let's it's okay. How are you
Is it
today?
good now? Oh my god.
Yes, we can
Oh
hear
my
you.
gosh. It's like it's 8 o'clock at night. So this is it's been a long day. Let's just put it at that. I'm
Yes.
doing good. I'm doing good, LaShawn. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you
Really
for
appreciate it. How are you?
coming. I am excited. I'm excited about having the conversation that we have planned tonight. I'm excited for all you're doing in our industry, and I'm excited to introduce the world to you and all that you're doing for HR professionals. And I'm also excited that I can say I'm a little international because we are over in the Barbados.
Yes, the Republic of Barbados.
Yes, so that's also exciting for me. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. We have people excited that you're here. We have JP High Tech here saying, hello, Julie. Excited to learn from you tonight. We absolutely are. Thank you for being here, JP. And, it's going to be a great night because the title of this episode is Confessions of an HR Pro, and it's all stemmed off of a book that Julie wrote titled Confessions of an HR Pro. And I happen to have a copy of Julie's book, and we're going to talk about how you can get a copy of this book because initially I thought, wow, this is a book for HR to relate to other HR, but really, no. This is a book everybody needs to read, everybody needs to tap into if you're truly trying to understand more in depth about this HR profession, especially if you have aspirations to work in HR. You really need to understand what that means and what that looks like. And Julie has done a phenomenal job of breaking that down and dispelling some truths. So, what brought the book about, Julie? What made you sit and kind of do an HR tell all for the people?
Oh, okay. Number one, COVID. And number two, just it was part of my healing process through my own HR burnout. I'd gone through 2 bouts of burnout, and during my second bout of burnout, which was the worst. And if you've ever burned out before, you know that the comeback is a challenge.
Yes.
Um, but the second time I encountered burnout, there were a lot of other challenges that I was facing with my body at the time, and I almost died.
Wow.
And so coming out of that, I was like, as I started to heal, I told myself, you know what? This is not good enough. What I'm doing is not sustainable for my own body. I could work for an organization till the day I die, but then who takes care of my kids? Who takes care of my mom? Who takes care of my husband? And when I started to, break it down, I was like, you know what? There's got to be a way for me to heal. We keep my cup in a way that constantly feels like I'm not emptying it, but that I'm keeping it at a good level or refilling it consistently. And it started me on this journey of, but I wonder if I'm alone. Like, I wonder if I'm the only person that is going through this crazy.
Wow.
And that kind of led me to my home, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and just like reaching out to my HR community and going, okay, guys, you gotta help me here. I can't be the only one that's going through this. And then as I started to take that journey, the stories, the conversations were unreal. And I just realized, okay, I'm not alone here. So what are we gonna do about it? Because many times through my career, I've asked that question, where is the HR for HR? Because we really, we really need that.
Yes.
And so then I started to write this book, and that book has just taken me on this journey of I don't even know what my life is right now, but it's
It's great.
crazy.
It's
It's
great
great.
though.
It's absolutely great. Like I would not change it for anything right now.
It's a crazy great. It's a
It's
crazy great.
it's a crazy great. It's definitely a crazy great, but it is crazy.
Yes. When I looked into the book, I saw you dedicated it to three types of HR professionals, the brilliant ones out here who are in the trenches every day trying to make a difference. And I so can relate to that professional because that's me. And then you also dedicated to the aspiring folks, right? The people that want to be in HR and want to learn more, all with you there. But that second group that you mentioned, the ones who make the industry look bad, I need
Yeah.
them to really pick up this book and
Hmm.
read it because they're out there, right?
Oh yes, they are. They exist. They live and breathe every day. Mm-hmm.
And then I think when people say HR is for the business, it's because they're encountering HR professionals who don't represent the industry well, and we're not
Correct.
all bad, right?
No, you can't paint us all with the same brush. It's not fair. At the end of the day, there are HR professionals who are very dedicated to people, who are very good at sitting in the middle of the business and the people and getting stuff done. And then there are those HR professionals out there who are just focused on the process, the policies. Those people are the ones that make bad for us. Those are the people that creators on TikTok and Instagram are portraying.
Right.
They are not us. They are not you and I and the many people who are listening and watching and are going to listen and watch into this.
Doesn't it
We're
make you
not.
mad when you see those?
It makes me extremely angry. It annoys me to no end when I see those things. I can't even begin to tell you. There's a guy on TikTok who I can't even remember his name right now, but he does a skit where he is talking about human resources. How can I help you? And he's typing away on his keyboard.
Uh
The
huh.
one that was the last one that I watched that he did before I stopped following him was an employee was calling and saying that they were they got run over by a bus. Basically, they got hit by a bus, and he was like, I'm sorry that you got hit by a bus, but this is your third time and I can't, you know what that means? You're terminated. Like, seriously? That's not
Yeah.
who we are. And that was the last video that he did that annoyed me. That was like,
Hmm.
I'm unfollowing this dude because, yeah, no.
Yes, they paint us in such a negative light, and this is what I love about your book because you point out things that may not be so obvious to
Mm-hmm.
someone not in the HR industry. And so, one of the things you say, it's in chapter 8, and I took a note here, and that chapter is a good relationship gone bad. And you
Mm,
said in this chapter, one of the confessions is HR does not have the absolute power to terminate. And there are so many times where HR will not agree to a termination and the business will do it anyway, but
yeah.
then demonstrate no courage and say HR made me do it.
HR made me do it. Yeah. The
How many times
scapegoat.
has that happened?
To me, a lot. And I'm sure to other HR professionals quite a few times. Like,
Yes.
and I'm sure we've experienced it even more so through COVID, where there are those companies that sadly used COVID as an excuse to get rid of people.
It is. And even though HR can say it's not right, it's not fair,
Yep.
you don't need to do this, they will not listen because we don't have the absolute power to terminate. We are not decision makers in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So the next time your leader says, well, HR said I had to, I don't know about
Think
that.
about it. Think about it. Think about it. And chances are we've pushed back,
Hmm.
especially when you want to make a termination of an employee and we go, so I'm pulling the file. I see nothing in their performance that says that you had issues with their performance. We've given no warnings. We've not gone through a progressive disciplinary process. Have you even had a conversation with the person about their poor performance? No, but you just want them gone because they've probably done one thing to really
Yeah.
annoy you that's
Hmm.
taking you over the bridge, and you've probably had the worst day ever. And you're just like, no, I want this person gone. Make it happen today. But you're not giving us what we need in order to do our job effectively. And
Hmm.
then we become all of a sudden, to the leaders, HR is difficult.
Yep. I hear it all the time where HR, they don't understand or they're difficult. And it's hard to walk with that. And that's why the guy in the TikTok thinks, well, it's HR saying, well, after three times, you have to, you
Mm-hmm.
know what that means. It's not even HR saying that.
No, absolutely not. And a lot of times it just is so painful. Like, I know the times that I've really pushed back on a termination and it still happened, or I've pushed back on people being let go, made redundant, positions being taken out without proper consideration of, so who's going to be left to do this work, because this work still has to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that going to affect the person? How are we going to deal with survivor's remorse and all of those things? No, I've sat in organizations where leaders just take no consideration to any of those things. And all of those things are part of what built my desire to be more vocal and to write this book.
Wow. And it's unfortunate. It's
Mm,
unfortunate. I need employees to understand that if you have a leader that's treating you bad, nine times out of 10, they're probably treating HR bad as well. They don't select, who they are treating badly. And because HR is not decision makers, they also don't listen to us sometimes unless you
no,
are really effective or really influential with a leader
mm,
who really cares. So the
that's
the
it.
whole the only way your HR could be a healthy nucleus to your organization is if they're planted to work with leaders who actually care about people as much, if not more, than they care about the organization. Because if it's not balanced, it's going to be hard for you to have an HR that you believe is for you because they're not the
Exactly.
decision maker. So
Exactly. If you
it's
don't have leaders who have the appetite for what you're bringing to the table to make positive change, to impact people's lives, to create great employee experiences. If you don't have leaders who are on the bus with that, you're going to
mm-hmm,
constantly have challenges. You're going to constantly butt heads. And you're going to say, well, this is what you hired me to do. But did they really? Which is leads to the question, I think it's so important that when you're being interviewed for an HR role, you need to ask these people, what does HR mean to them? How do you define
oh,
HR?
it's a good one.
Because when you hear what they're saying and it doesn't match what they're asking for, you know it's a moment where you have to go, okay, this could be a red flag. Let me just dial this back a bit. And that gives you opportunity to go, well, based on the job description that you have here, I was of the impression that
Mm-hmm,
this was XYZ. This was the story that I was telling myself. So now, based on what you're saying, it sounds like the story I'm telling myself is wrong. Is that correct? Then that actually puts them on the response to say, well, actually, yes, the story you're telling yourself wasn't quite right there. This is what we're actually looking for. And I'd be like, okay, well, thank you so much for your time,
mm-hmm,
because I am a candidate that has the wherewithal to know whether this is right for me or wrong for me,
mm-hmm,
or if I'm going to go in here and waste my time.
mm-hmm.
And I don't have time for that.
Yep.
So
Absolutely
let me make
not.
that clear.
Man, and you talk about burnout, right?
Yes,
That's why this job is draining because it takes a lot of energy to convince people to be right who don't want to be right. Treat people right who don't want to treat people right. It's a lot of energy that goes into that, and that's why a lot of people are exiting this HR profession. Good people who are
good.
just tired of fighting with organizations who don't get it.
It's the truth.
And I think about the story you told at the beginning of your book. One of the reasons why you even wanted to enter HR is because of your
Mhm.
experience with a bad leader. And you were 22, you were pregnant in your third trimester, and you got terminated.
Yes.
And
I
you knew at that point, whenever you had an opportunity to be impactful or a positive leader to others, you would do it. And is that kind of what got you into HR, or talk about that experience? And is that what even got you interested in this field?
it is definitely one of the main reasons why I got into this field. That entire experience of being terminated and not even understanding what my legal rights were. 21 years old in the 90s, you know, just married, building my family, and this happens to me. And it really put me in a position of, you know what, this just doesn't seem right. This doesn't seem fair. And is this the way that leaders treat people in general? And then it kind of made me take a step back of, this is definitely not how I want to lead people if I'm ever given the position, the opportunity to lead people. I would never want that to be me. And it kind of propelled me on this journey of, well, how do I get myself into that space that I can lead people effectively and help them to grow? But also, how do I get into a space where I can support leaders and help them to recognize what good leadership is and what bad leadership is, and give them guidance on how to lead their people effectively? And
Mhm.
so that propelled me into administration. That's where I started. And then I moved from administration into HR. And that's how my journey began.
Wow. And we're glad you're here. We're
I'm
glad
so
you
glad
made it
you.
here.
you.
So you were telling me about the stories that people started telling you,
Mhm.
that kind of prompted this book. What's one of the most impactful stories that you heard from an HR professional who just had enough, was burnt out, or just was tired of the misrepresentation that comes along with being an HR professional?
Well, there was more than one. You want me to pick one in particular? Oh, this is a hard one. So there was this lady who came into my comments on a post that I did on LinkedIn some time back, and she was giving her experience of when she realized that enough was enough. And for her, she was in an emergency room with heart palpitations and feeling that she was having a heart attack and that she was going to die. Coming to realize that she had an anxiety attack. But that was her point of, you know what? No, I can't do this anymore. My mental health is definitely not where it should be. And I need to find ways to take better care of me. And she said from there, it went downhill. She had a mental breakdown. She left the HR profession for a while and then was in a space where, after following my content for some time, made a decision that she wanted to return to HR. And she actually ended up becoming my client. And her story moved me to no end. Listening to her during our virtual coffee, of me getting to know her and understand her a little better. And that's what happens generally. People give me, share comments, share their stories with me on LinkedIn, and then I'll reach out and say, you know, maybe we should have a virtual coffee. Seems like you want to get something more off of your chest. And I will tell you, over the last 2 years, I've sat with probably over 7,000 HR professionals,
Wow.
and I've cried with them. I've sat in silence with them. I've shared stories with them, because it's just such a heart wrenching experience to go through when you feel defeated, when you feel that you failed yourself and you failed the company and the employees that you work with. And really and
Yeah.
truthfully, that's what's happened. The companies failed you in not giving you the
Yes.
ability to practice you really what brought you into this space of HR and the
Yes.
impact that you wanted to make. And so when that happens, you break someone, and HR professionals are broken. We
Yes.
are broken. Every time we ask for something and you say no, but you'll give it to finance, you give it to marketing, you give it to legal, but you won't give it to HR, that erodes at our
Mm.
psyche, it erodes at our humanity. Every time you put us in a position where we have to explain ourselves or justify the fact that We didn't know. Every time you make us a scapegoat, every time you tell us when we don't have, we're not cost benefiting, anytime you tell us something that's going to erode at our capacity to perform, you dehumanize us,
Yes.
you destabilize us, you tear away at our psyche. And this is what I see on a
Mm.
daily basis when I work with HR professionals.
And this is what leads to the burnout. This is what leads to the overworked, overwhelmed, underappreciated, undervalued, all the things
Yeah.
that employees are experiencing based on, the reports and the data as to why they're quitting their jobs and the great resignation are the same things HR professionals encounter. The same things. And you mentioned about we're not finance, we're not, there's a chapter in your book or a section in your book. Let me see. Chapter 5, right? It's chapter
Mhm.
5, and you talk about that HR is not seen as a profit based department and
Yeah.
therefore does not receive the respect that other departments receive. And
Mhm.
departments, especially when it comes to learning and development, because we're not actually out there from their perspective bringing in clients or selling goods. We're not effective, impactful, and we're not a revenue generating department. I'd like for you to just to dispel that a little bit and share how much of a generating profitable department HR is to organizations.
Listen, we this is one of my biggest irritations when I hear organizations say HR does not meet the company money. And I'll tell you what. So I'm just gonna give one example, but there are so many more. But when you think about it from a disciplinary perspective, think about all the money that you save your company when you prevent someone from suing the company, when you prevent someone from leaving the organization, a valuable employee leaving the organization. Because there are a lot of things that happen behind the doors in HR that we don't blow our own trumpet about. For example, if you have a disgruntled employee and you know your people, if you're one of those HR people that walks around and gets to know your people, you learn their stories, you get to understand who they are and what they're experiencing, and you hear someone say, you know what, I've had enough, I don't want to be here anymore, these are the things that are bothering me, these are the things that are affecting me, and you get that person to calm down. You get that person to say, you know what, I'm going to give it one more shot based on the recommendations that you have made as the HR person supporting the people. Take that person's salary for the rest of the year and add that to your report and say, I saved the company X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars in this person's salary because they were ready to go through the door, but I was able to stop them from doing that. We need to shout that.
Yes.
Think about now when you've gone through a process of helping someone get to the point where they go, you know what, I'm not going to sue the company anymore. Find the case study that relates to that person's situation and you put that in your performance review and say, during this particular disciplinary situation, I was able to diffuse the situation based on X versus LinkedIn or X versus Y company, where this particular thing happened. The company had to pay out this employee $4 million, $300,000, whatever the case may be. Therefore, I've saved the company based on this case, which is exactly the same,
Mm-hmm.
this amount of money. Then they start to realize, okay, so that's money that we're keeping. If you're keeping that money, then that means HR is doing their job effectively. Now, how do we stay abreast of what we're doing in order to be able to do these things effectively? Well, we got to learn. We got to be able to learn and develop and grow ourselves. We got to be able to network and get into community spaces so that we can learn from other HR professions, because I'm a very spiritual person. And there's a proverb that talks about as iron sharpens iron, so one
Yes.
man sharpens the face of another.
Yes.
And so when you think about the times that you don't allow your HR people to be able to get in those spaces to network, to go to the conferences, to be able to go on learning and development certifications and those kind of things, you are disadvantaging your HR people. And you're
Yes.
stopping them from being able to be effective. We all know what the ROI is on employee engagement, but for some reasons, leaders don't make the connection that employee engagement equals HR engagement. And
Right.
if we are not engaged, then we can't do our jobs effectively and we can't support the business in a way that it needs to be supported. And if we're not given those opportunities to also dial back and take care of ourselves and go to an HR retreat, like how they go to their big retreats, wherever they
Right.
go, if we don't get the opportunities to do those things for our HR teams or ourselves, whether if we're a department of one, then how do you expect us to be strategic? How do you expect us to perform effectively and save you the money that we know we can save you and make money when we hire top talent that other people are poaching and we get them at a
Right.
good. Come on now. Tell me that we don't make you money. Tell me we're not cost benefiting. Those things just really rack my mind. I don't get it. So,
You just said, listen, a whole word, okay?
uh,
Because everything you said is so true. And let me just add, and aren't the leaders the first ones to say, I need some benchmark data. I need to understand what this company is doing or what's their policy on this. But you don't want to support me going to events where I can network and meet people in these companies, or you don't want to support me to grow or develop myself or build these connections. You just want me to go find it.
that's it. That's it. And I can't just pull stuff out of a hat. It doesn't work that way. So you got to work with me here. And I feel like
Right.
it's such a frustration that the department that is the first, the cornerstone, the heartbeat, the first responders in your organ. Could you imagine, LaShawn, being asleep at night in your bed, comfortable, 2 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden you smell smoke. You get up, you realize there's a fire in your kitchen. You go outside, you call the fire service. The fire service turns up and they got no hose.
Right.
Your house is,
Gone.
you're at dinner with a friend. And for some reason, out of excitement, you don't know what it is. They're clutching their chest, they drop to the ground. You call the EMTs. They come, no defibrillator. But yet, still, you expect your HR people, the first responders in your organization, to work with next to nothing
No
and
surprise.
perform effectively. It's how?
You
How?
just, I
How?
mean, that's the key. We don't have a hose. So you know what HR,
No hose,
you know what
no
we're doing?
defibrillator.
We're looking around. Anybody got a cup? Oh, wait. Anybody know where a lake is? Let me just go see if I can scoop and pour and scoop and pour, trying to get this house fire out. That's why I'm
You know,
tired.
that's what, yeah. You know what that just reminded me of? Have you watched Medea Homecoming?
Yes. And then he
You
was,
see how she poured the cup down?
yeah, that's us.
That's what you just reminded me of. That is us. That is
When if the companies would just support developing HR professionals to know, hey, you need a hose and you need to have it handy. And this is where you should position it to be proactive in case this happens. You're
mhm.
missing that piece where they learn that part. But yet the fire comes and you're looking at HR like, do something.
Yeah. What do you want us to do? We don't have anything to do it with.
I need
You
companies
want
to
us to pull
value.
data. You want us to pull data out of the sky.
Yeah.
You want us to use Excel and Google Sheets, but you give your finance team Zero and dashboarding and
Right.
Trello and all those other things, but you give HR Excel and you go do payroll with that,
Good
create
luck
bonuses with that, manage this headcount with
with
that.
that.
When we
There's just
want our
no
data, pull
value.
it from that. There's like no respect.
No
No
respect,
respect.
no value, and that needs to stop. And the only way it's going to stop is for us to start taking command of our reputation, having conversations like this and
Mhm.
holding companies and leaders accountable to taking care of the people that you're relying on to take care of your people, including you. You know,
Absolutely.
it's almost like a bad marriage, right? If you are the business and HR is the spouse, because you
Mhm.
together collectively are a force to be reckoned with. If you have a healthy organization with a healthy leadership and a healthy HR leader, that's what makes your organization healthy. But
Exactly.
if you have a leader who is condescending to the spouse, who doesn't recognize or appreciate the spouse, who doesn't
Yeah.
do anything to help the spouse grow or develop in the
Hmm.
relationship, outside of the relationship, and they're just there for the sake of being there, how do you
Yeah.
expect to function as a unit?
You can't. You can't expect effective functioning to happen in the organization. You cannot expect that marriage to grow. And so you have to find ways to, as HR, for us, because we care so much,
Yeah,
because we give so much, it's hard for us to walk away without a victory.
right.
But sometimes you just have to walk away. You have to walk away and go, you know what? This isn't worth my life.
Mm,
This isn't worth my joy. This isn't why I got here. This isn't why my purpose of being in this space is to be lived out.
mm-hmm.
This is why we lose so many good people, because they're tired of the disrespect. They're tired of the mistreatment. They're tired of the abuse.
Yeah.
And funny enough, when I have conversations with clients and I raise this thing about being abused, a lot of my clients are in denial. Oh no, I wasn't abused. The relationship just didn't go well, and this and that. And I go, well, tell me some of the situations that you were in, that brought you to this point. Oh, my manager cast me out. My manager did this. My CEO did that. Our relationship isn't as good as it should be. We don't communicate. You know, I don't get to use my skills and my abilities. And I say, and you weren't abused?
Mm,
That's not abuse.
mm.
And then when they take a step back and they go, holy smokes, I've been
Yeah.
abused.
Yeah.
When they say it out loud for the first time, it really is like a very eye opening thing to people. But you are going through some kind of workplace trauma. And I love Minda Harts for writing Right Within,
Mm,
because that book goes so nicely with mine in terms of the things that we're going through, you know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? But how do we deal with that workplace trauma
Mm.
that we're experiencing? But you are being abused. If you're in a very toxic organization and your relationship as HR to your leaders and managers in your organization isn't good, that's abuse.
Yes. And it's almost like if you're in a rehabilitation facility because you're trying to, get off drugs or something like that. When you're in rehab, you don't go to the person in rehab with you to help you overcome what you're trying to get out of
Mhm.
rehab. But that's how organizations are positioning HR professionals. They're not taking care of them. They're being abusive towards them, but they're expecting them to manage and take care of the employees who too are being abused by these toxic workplace environments. It does not go well.
Does not compute. Does not compute at all.
I'm glad to know I'm not crazy out here believing like, this is real life, because in a moment of transparency, the whole job hopping term that people are talking about, oh, you job hop to get more money, or, to go. Let me tell you why I job hop earlier in my career, because I got tired of working for companies who couldn't get it, who didn't get it, and didn't have the wherewithal to want to take care of employees and treat them
Yeah.
right and value them. And I got so tired of being ignored, not listened to, and it's hard to sit back and watch people being treated
It is.
badly.
It is. For I totally agree with you. And I was gonna say, like, sometime back I remember having a conversation with Angela Shaw, and she came up in my LinkedIn feed one day saying that she resigned from her job and without a plan B. So she was a part of this great resignation that was happening
Mm.
after COVID, and she was in HR. And I remember interviewing her on my show, and she said, the reason why I will always leave an organization that does not value me is because I will always choose me first.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that hit home to me. That was so powerful to me that she recognized the importance of choosing herself. We need to recognize as HR professionals that as much as we are in a position of servitude,
Mm.
there we cannot serve if we do not choose ourselves,
Mm.
if we don't take care of ourselves. And there comes a point in time where you have to make a decision about, do I stay in this toxic relationship for the sake of the kids?
Mm.
Back to your analogy.
Yeah.
Do I stay in this toxic relationship for the sake of the kids, or do I, you know, do the right thing and choose me in this moment and take care of me so that I can be the best mom that I could be versus
Mm-hmm.
the best wife or the best girlfriend or the best partner that I could be?
Yes.
Do I choose me? And then when you make that decision, okay, I'm going to choose me. And I know a lot of people use this analogy about you got to put your own oxygen mask on first. I don't use that. And I'll tell you why I don't use it. I don't use it because when you hear that analogy of putting your oxygen mask on first, where are you usually, LaShawn?
On a plane.
On a plane. If they're telling you to put your oxygen mask on, what's happening? Chances are the plane's doing what?
About to crash or fall.
So then, do I want to put my oxygen mask on first to go to my impending doom?
Right. Right.
Don't make any sense.
Right.
But let's come from a space of, let's just keep our cup full. And if we
Mm.
can't keep it full, let's just remember our cup is refillable and it is our duty to refill our cup versus putting on a mask and heading to your impending doom. Because if the plane crashes, what use is the mask at the
Right.
end of the day?
Ooh.
It, none. No sense whatsoever. So
Mm-hmm.
refill your cup and remember that your cup is refillable. A lot of us, if you're a spiritual person, are running on Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have nothing in that gas tank. Sometimes, and especially because of the gas prices going up now, a lot of us run that car until we could get every last piece of
Mm-hmm.
gas out of it. And for a lot of us in our HR careers, that's what we're doing. We're just going on the last piece of
Fumes.
strength and fumes that we have in order to be effective in the organization. And we can't be effective that way. We cannot keep on doing these things to ourselves. So there's a measure of responsibility to organizations.
Mm-hmm.
I will always call out organizations that are not being supportive and taking care of their people. But as HR people, we have a responsibility and a duty to ourselves to
Absolutely.
choose ourselves and to take care of ourselves. And that means practicing proper self care, but then also recognizing when the relationship with the organization you are with is not working out and you have done all that you can and it isn't working out, that it's okay to pack up your bags and walk away.
Yes.
And it's okay to pack up your bags and walk away without a plan of what is going to happen next. But if you build a community, if you take care of yourself, everything else will fall into place.
It will. Because you got to be around to live it.
You got to be around to live it. You can't, no one else is going to do it for you.
No.
You got to do
No.
it for yourself.
And it's
If it's,
okay. It's okay to
it's
walk
totally,
away for you.
totally okay to walk away. And I think more HR professionals are realizing that. I think when you
Mm-hmm.
look at, there was a report that I read sometime, I think it was either last year or 2019, that showed that more HR professional jobs are becoming vacant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's the case and people are walking away from those organizations, not just as part of the great migration, but a part of these companies are crazy and I don't want to work for them anymore and I need to get out of here,
Uh-huh.
then I think when you go into an organization to look for another role, then you've got to ask those two questions. you know, what is your definition of HR? Your personal definition of HR. And then why did the last person leave this place?
Mm-hmm.
And listen to how people answer those questions.
Yes.
Does it
It,
match with the piece of paper that they've put out to advertise the role or not? And if it doesn't,
then go.
then
It's
yeah,
not
then
the place
go.
for you.
That's
Save
it. That's it.
yourself. Yeah. Save
That's
yourself
it.
the
And
time and
do your
mental.
homework, for goodness
Yes.
sake. Do your homework. Do your homework on the companies that you're going into next. Not
Correct.
just the company and its culture, but the people who are going to be leading you. Everybody is Googleable.
Right.
Everybody.
Everybody is
Everybody.
Googleable. And yeah,
Everybody.
the news will pick it up if there, like,
Yeah.
if there is something. And then, LinkedIn, while they're not a sponsor, but let me just do this plug because maybe they will become one, is a great resource because you can find, if you put in a company, anybody who works there and people you're connected to who might work there, or people you're
Yes.
connected to who knows somebody who works there, because the people can give you the real take on the culture. Don't go
Yes.
by what the website says.
Don't definitely don't do that. And if you happen to find the previous HR person and you
Mm,
connect with them and you have a virtual coffee with them or a face-to-face coffee if you're in the same space and find out from that person what made them leave, they will spill. They
they will
will
tell
tell
you.
you. They
Mm-hmm.
will tell you. So there's no reason for you not to have the access that you need moving into your next role. And then the
Absolutely.
other thing I would say is for HR professionals, explore your options. Like, seriously consider, does taking the knowledge, the experience that you have as an HR professional, is it worth it giving it to one organization and becoming their employee? Now, there
Mm-hmm.
are some people that I know are in that mindset of I gotta work for a company, I want my benefits, yada yada yada, I want to retire, I want my 401k, yeah, whatever, and I totally get that. But also be in a space of creating your own legacy and
Mm,
understanding what it is as you build other people's legacies, that you can also build your own. And
yes.
even if that's freelancing on the side, or creating your own consultancy, or moving into some other area, specializing in something else, teaching a course. The internet has made it possible for us to do so many things with the knowledge and the experience that we
That you
have.
have.
Write
Yeah.
a book,
Do
you know,
something. Start a
do something.
podcast.
Start a podcast. Absolutely. There
Do
are so
something.
many, become a public speaker
Mm-hmm.
in your particular space, but do something for yourself
Mm-hmm.
as an HR professional, and not just be about building other people's legacy in an organization. Find a way to build your own and find joy in
Mm-hmm.
HR again by doing the stuff that you love, because that was one of the things that was my saving grace, LaShawn. That was my saving grace.
Mm.
Writing my book, starting my podcast, public speaking, teaching courses, coaching HR professionals. Those are the things that I find great joy in. And
Mm.
I personally would never go back to working for another organization, having discovered this other side of the fence
Wow.
and knowing that it's possible for me to survive as an HR professional and have fun and make HR fun again.
Man, it make HR, you just said a whole lot. And I don't know if JP High Tech is still watching. He commented earlier, but that is one of the things he's talking about at the conference. He's talking about how, as a professional that's talented, don't give your all to somebody else to profit off of or make money off of or use you with. You are a gift and a solution to someone or something. Learn what that is, capitalize on it, and use it to find fulfillment in you. Because when you're doing that, that's how you
Mhm.
sometimes find purpose. And you found your purpose in doing
Absolutely.
what you do. So
Absolutely.
I love it. I mean, we have so many comments. So Creed says, good conversation. Yes, we have to equip our HR and our leaders. We absolutely do, Creed. Thank you so much for joining in the comments. Don Donna or Danae, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Sorry about that. All that you were talking about is so applicable to organizations today. I can relate. It is. Thank you so much for joining. And listen, Julie, keep our cup full. A LinkedIn user said, and know when it's time to walk. Teresa, thank you so much for joining.
Mhm.
Everybody is Googleable. So
Yeah.
true. Understand the culture that you're walking into because it'll help
Yes.
you understand the work to be cut out for. Now, some HR professionals, they're all about that life. They're all about, you know what? I can do this. I can drive change. Still Google so you know how much to charge
Yes.
for your driving change and
That's right.
and your pay. So
That's
love,
right.
love Googleable. And Jamie, thank you so much for joining. You feel like this live was for, you know what? I'm glad you can relate, Jamie, because I can relate as well. And hopefully, everybody else on here tonight who's watching or listening can relate because we have got to do better putting some respect on the HR industry. We have got to do
Yeah.
better. And so that means HR professionals, you got to start advocating for yourself,
Hmm.
understanding your boundaries, establishing your boundaries, setting them, not being afraid to say no, and not being afraid to do what fulfills you in your
That's it.
life. Because it's not
Yep.
about the company at the end of the day. We don't do
No.
this to make companies rich. We do this because we care about people.
Hmm. Hmm. Any HR professional worth their salt is in that role because they care about people. And I would
Yes.
rather hear HR people say the reason they got into HR is because they care about people and they want to create great experiences for people. They want to see people develop and grow. Versus you saying you got into HR because you love people. Because let's face it, right? Even if you love people, at the end of the day, employees do some crazy stuff and you
Yep.
don't like them all the time. You
Right.
can't,
They're
right?
like your children. You get mad at your children. You're going to
That's
get
it.
mad at these people.
From your leadership to your employees on the ground, they all do crazy stuff and they will
Yes.
all at some point in time disappoint you. So
Yes.
my advice to that would be, as HR professionals, you've got to guard your heart.
Guard it.
Give your heart, but guard it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we
Mm-hmm.
got to give it, but we got to guard it. And just remember that the people are people,
Yep.
and we're not perfect, and we all make mistakes, and we all do crazy stuff from time to time. When it happens to you, you've got to give yourself grace. And in those moments where you knew you could have done better or you felt like you could have done better, but you didn't, give yourself grace. Forgive
Yes.
yourself. And I give one exercise that I give my clients is, in those moments where you've had that rough day and you've been doing something, you've done something that at the end of the day you felt like you gave your all, but you still feel really bad about it. I was going to say in Bajan terms, you feel like a dog
Uh-huh.
about it, right? Come home, look in the mirror, and say to yourself, I forgive you.
Mm.
This too shall pass, but I forgive you. Because a lot of times we don't forgive ourselves. And it's all part of that process of, even when you decide that you're going to transition on to another organization, don't take that trauma, don't take that baggage with you. It's
Yes.
just like, when we end a bad relationship and then we give open our hearts to a new relationship, we still have that little bit of apprehension of, when is that other foot gonna drop,
Yes.
and is this relationship going to be just like my previous relationship? That's because you haven't let go of that baggage,
Yes.
right? So you don't give that new person a chance, whether it's no matter what who that person is, you've got to give them a chance to show
Yes.
you who they really are. And the same is true for organizations. When we make that decision that we're going to leave an organization and we transition to another, we have to shake the dust off that past previous organization, so we don't walk into that new organization with those same feelings of
Mm-hmm.
apprehension, all that angst that we feel and waiting for the other shoe to drop. Let's just
Mm.
take the experience for what it is. That's what, you can't enjoy the journey if you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right. Man, that is so good. So good.
Mhm.
And you can't enjoy the journey. Focusing, stop looking in the rearview mirror, right? It's like
Yeah.
you did it, have grace, forgive
Hmm.
yourself.
That's
Don't be
it.
hard on yourself because It's not even your business. Like, it's not even
No,
your organization for you to be pouring so much energy and emotion into. You are human. You will make mistakes.
yeah,
Forgive yourself.
that's
And
it.
it's a mindset thing. Understand that the mistake is only teaching you what you need to know for next time to do it differently. That's
That's it.
it.
It's a lesson learned.
A lesson
That's
learned.
all it is.
So Gianna is here and she said that she's glad that she's joined. Gianna, I think, said she was from the Cayman Islands. So welcome, Gianna, to
Yes,
the
Diana.
show. Thank you for
Diana.
joining. Some people said, my soul needed to hear this. So glad
Oh,
because I need to salute every HR professional who catches a glimpse, even if you hear nothing else that I say tonight, just to understand you are remarkable because simply because you do what you do.
mm-hmm.
It's not for everybody. So own your remarkableness, if that's even a word.
Right.
Own it.
Mm-hmm.
Linda says that, we're so correct. We care so much at our expense. Yes, we do, Linda. We do. And even Julie's book talks about how many times we put the business need before our own well-being and our
Mm-hmm.
own needs. And we need to talk about this because
Yep.
businesses need to stop expecting HR people, HR professionals, HR generalists, HR managers, HR anybody to clean up their mess. Like that's
Yep.
not who we are.
No, we
You
are not
know,
the cleanup crew.
we are not the
We are
cleanup
not
crew.
your, we are not the head teachers.
No.
And
We're
we are
not your
not,
secretaries. We're not your
no,
administrative.
we're not
You
your
know,
pharmacists. We're
we're
not
not.
providing prescriptions. We're not
Right.
doing that. We're the people who are here to guide you through a particular experience.
Yes.
Guide is the exact
Guide.
word. And that's why I
Yep.
say one of the mistakes a lot of HR people make is because they feel like very early in their career, and I know I experienced this too, I felt this too. You got to prove yourself, right? You got
Mm-hmm.
to earn your stripes.
Yes.
And so you got to prove yourself. Your ego gets in the way. And I remember listening to a quote from Dr. Rick Rigsby, and he's a chaplain for the NFL, and he was giving a speech, and I remember him saying, and it stuck with me, and I say it all the time: ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. You might have a family
Mm.
member that you want to say that to. Ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
When we let our egos get in the way, we can't move forward, we can't progress. So there comes a point where it's not about proving yourself to your leadership. It's not about being better than your colleagues or keeping up with your HR colleagues. It's about you. It's about being
Mm-hmm.
you and navigating your journey in the HR space, building your relationships, getting a better understanding of who you are and who you are becoming. And when you let go of all that ego and all those other things, you're able to navigate things a lot better. You learn
Yes.
to start to rely on people. No man is an island.
Mm-hmm.
I could not be who I am today if it wasn't for the people in my life who love me, my family,
Mm.
my therapist who continuously puts up with me because I still engage in therapy. I couldn't do the things that I do today if it wasn't for my team. I couldn't do the things I do today if it wasn't for my coaches, and I have more than one. And I truly believe that a good coach has a coach, but I
Mm-hmm.
have coaches because I want to be the best HR for HR coach that there could be.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen without support. So
Yes.
I have coaches. I go to therapy. So I practice what I preach, right? And it's important for us as HR to do the same. We're the ones giving advice, we're the ones giving support and guidance, but we don't practice what we preach.
Yes.
Practice what you preach or change your speech. Plain and simple.
Practice what you preach or change. Listen, Julie, this has been a phenomenal conversation.
It,
I could keep going on, but I know that we are at time and I want to be
mhm,
respectful of your evening. But I
mhm.
do want to share with people how they can get in contact with you. So, hold on one second. Let me go back here. How they could get in contact with you. I hit the wrong button. So here is Julie's website here, HR at Heart Consulting, and it's HR at heart.co. And if you go to her website here, you can see Here's how you're able to schedule a consultation with her. She provides a safe space for HR professionals to learn, grow, and thrive. And so here you can read about who she is. And at the very bottom, I'm going to invite you each to connect with her. So if you want to buy her book, let me just stop right here. Here's the link how you can purchase her book. And it is also on Amazon. And she has it in Kindle version, and she has a paperback, and I think she even had hardback when I looked at it. And at the very, very bottom, you can see where she was been featured. So we had a definitely delight today to have Julie with us because she's well known in this industry. But I want to invite you all to connect with her on LinkedIn. At the very bottom of her website, you will see a LinkedIn icon down there. Feel free to connect with her anyway on any of her social media. However, she's most active on LinkedIn, and that is where you can connect with her and see everything that she's doing. And we are just excited that Julie joined us today. And listen, Kevin has already gotten your book, Julie. So thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin, for that, because I really want to, I was explaining to Julie, we got to support each other through this because we can't depend on these organizations to support us. We can't depend on these leaders to support us until they get it. We support each other. So I was excited to have you here. I am excited that you are doing what you're doing, and I hope you will come back with us because I know Birdie told me you're going to write a part 2 of your book. So
I am definitely going to write, yes.
Confessions
is coming for sure. Confessions of an HR Pro Part 2, the Burnout Chronicles is coming. So it's in the works. But I'm currently taking this show on the road. So in the next couple of weeks, which is why I'm so upset because I can't join you for Unplugged, but I'm heading to Europe to give my first TEDx on this same topic of HR burnout. Yes.
How exciting. We will be rooting for you. I will be all the way from Atlanta while you're doing your TEDx. And I know that I will hopefully soon be coming to the Barbados because I know you lead some events that are happening there. And so we will definitely connect. Disrupt HR. Yep, you are the lead there. We will be connected because it takes a community and it takes heart. And you are HR at heart. So thank you so much, Julie. I'm going to just have you hang out in the back for a moment as I wrap up the show. But again, thank you for being here. And to everybody watching, thank you guys so much for tuning in and joining in on such a heartfelt conversation because a lot of times HR professionals do not get recognized. They do not get, any type of recognition at all for the work that they're doing. The fight that they go in every day with leaders, trying to do the right thing by employees. And sometimes they get overturned or unheard. And we need to really start making sure that we do what we need to do as a industry to band together. That's why we're doing Unplug. That's why we're having this podcast. That's why we're interviewing HR professionals. And next week, we're going to be talking to Deidre McGuire, who is going to be sharing the consequences that happen with HR when we don't get the things that we've talked about today. So when HR gets burnt out, what happens? When HR doesn't feel valued and disrespected, what happens? What is happening with the HR industry today and why it's a dire emergency for us to really get in and do something about it. So she'll be with us next week talking about that. So if you're an HR professional, you definitely want to tune in and you definitely want to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube. We are on YouTube. It's www.youtube.com/thehrplug. Make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss another future episode. And you can go and check out past episodes that we've done as well. That is all geared toward the HR community or employees in the workplace or leaders getting the necessary things that they need to thrive at work. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I hope you tune in next week for another episode of Let's Get Plugged. Take care.